We're gonna do another sketchbook today. This one is a saddle stitched or a hand stitched sketchbook. Basically, it's just where the pages are brought together and you can see the stitching in the center. This is really simple and it can be done by just about anybody. As long as you have a string-like substance and a fairly sharp stick of some kind, we can do this together. And some paper, that's important. But we'll get this done, and what we're really gonna need and what I'm gonna use is gonna be this awl. It's for paper binding, it's also for leather work. It's not sharp, but it's definitely kind of pointy. We've got a bookbinding needle, which is dull, and it's got a nice big eye on the end to use our thread. I've got cotton thread here. This is waxed. You don't have to have this. Any kind of string will work. Also like sewing machine thread. I've got some scissors. I've got watercolor paper, and I have cardstock and computer paper. We're gonna throw it all in there together. But when we get done with this and through the video, this is gonna be our end result. This is what we're gonna make today. And you can see I've got like some cardboard here, and I've got some findings and some finishing stuff. It's gonna be really fun. So get your stuff together, pause the video if you've got to look for anything, and if you don't have something that you think we may have, we can just listen to us. We're gonna give you all kinds of alternatives for the items that we're making. Let us know and let's get started. Hi guys, okay, so we just talked about doing a sketchbook, a different kind of sketchbook. We have this kind today, and this is, I did not hand make this one, but this is a good example of what this looks like, and it's called saddle stitching. So basically, it's just a series of pages that's been sewn in the center to hold the pages to the cover and all together. So for this, it's really simple. We're gonna do something a little bit different than the way this one turns out, but it's gonna hold together and be the exact same principle, but handmade. So let's show you how this goes. For this, I've just got regular computer paper, and in fact, I probably don't even need this many pages. So I think I'm just gonna half that, and we'll hold this here. We've got this. I have some cardboard for the cover, because I love to recycle things, and this will keep it nice and safe. I have a needle and thread. This is a blunt needle. You can probably see there's no point on this guy. I cannot stab myself with it. And this is a really heavy duty guy. So we're gonna leave that there. And I have an awl. Now an awl is basically a hand tool that has a point on the end that you're gonna press through the paper to put a hole in it. And you don't have to use one of these. I have them just because I enjoy making my own books, and I've done some leather working before. But this is going to be replaceable by anything sharp and pointed, even a pair of scissors, a pair of pliers. The ballpoint end of a pen would be great for this too. Anything that you can press into something, though I recommend getting something, if you're going to use them, using a piece of cardboard to press into. That way you don't damage a table surface. This is not what that's about. So let's get started with this. We're going to go ahead and start. This guy is basically it's an 8.5 by 11 that's been folded in half. So we're going to do this. We're going to take our papers and we're going to take each sheet and fold them in half. So we'll just find the corners, nothing too difficult, and corner to corner, just like that. And we will smooth each sheet. Now, these individual pages are going to go together in our little mini sketchbook here. And you can use as many pages as you want when you put these together. I recommend not exceeding 15 pages per section, just because they get really thick and hard to bind together, and I'll show you that as well. But for this, we're just going to show you just a few. So 5 pages total. And here's that. So one more. And there's that. Okay, so we've got 5 pages, just regular pieces of computer paper done in half. And we're going to slip them inside each other to make what's called a folio. And these pages that all go together will be what becomes our sketchbook. So if you think about being a sketchbook, each of the pages that you're doing is actually rendering you 4 pages in your sketchbook. Each one page, folded in half, front and back, is 4. So you're going from 5 pages to a 20-page sketchbook. Okay, so you see how these all fit together nice and flat and neat? That's perfect. So what you want to do is make sure that that crease is really tight and folded really well. Okay, so then you want to make sure. Oh, look, our covers are a little bit small, but that's fine. That's totally okay. We will do something with those edges to make that work. Because when you put them on, actually, you know what? We're gonna make them come out to the edge and we're gonna leave the binding exposed, okay? That'll be fun. All right, so we're gonna flip this open. Now this is a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you're gonna wanna set some holes here. So I'm gonna use my mechanical pencil and roughly find your center, but you know what, I've got a ruler. Let's actually find center. So we're looking for 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4 right there. So 4 1/4, and then just about halfway between either side, just like that. Now I'm gonna use the awl. So let's be very careful when we do this. I'm gonna lift it a little bit, and I'm gonna punch through with my awl just to make a nice little hole. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn it over just to show you. You can see the holes that I've punched. You want those holes to be nice and clean. You don't want them to be torn if you can help it. And it'll help it basically to keep everything together. It'll make that stitching nice and tight, okay? So now we come to the quote unquote hardest part, which is the threading of this together. So we've got our bookbinding needle, very blunt, not hurts. And this is a waxed cotton thread. And just for this purpose, it's nice and thick and chunky so you can see what I'm doing. You don't have to use this thread. You can use any thread. You can use yarn. You can use rubber bands. You can use anything that's long, and if you can get spaghetti to work for it, go for it. I mean, you know, whatever you want to do, use it. You know, the more creative, the better here. So well, this is just a black cotton thread. And when we start, we want to start going through the middle, okay? But we're going to start on the outside. So we're gonna come up. Well, it helps if I could hit the hole. So you wanna come in. That's why it's important to make those holes nice and clean, because otherwise if you don't, you're gonna be sticking out all through the things. So you can see it comes through the other side. You pull it through. You're gonna leave a little tail there, 3 or 4 inches is fine. I'm gonna lift it. You can see that other hole right there? That's from the inside now. So outside and inside, from the inside out, you're gonna come up. Oops, I'm gonna stab the camera, very good. Okay, so now you can see it's gone tight because it just moved the tail. You're gonna come all the way down to the bottom and come in. I'm gonna flip it over so you can see in, and there's your long stitch. This is called a long stitch binding for saddle stitching. So you're gonna pull it, and you see how that just got tighter as I pulled on it? I'm gonna hold the tail back here, and you want that to be nice and tight. And then when you come back through the center hole again, you come out. So as you come out, you're gonna make sure that your little tails are on either side of that one long stitch. You're gonna take some scissors and clip, and then you'll tie. So you're catching that long stitch right in the center to give it some stability. And when you tie it off, I usually do a double knot. The wax is gonna make this knot never ever come undone. You basically have to burn the book, and we do not approve of burning books on this channel, okay? But you'd have to burn it to get this stitch to come out. So there it is in the center. So you can see it's nice and tight. You could actually make these stitches closer together, and you could add more holes if you wanted to make it even more put together, but this is more than adequate to hold these pieces together for this folio. So that's the basic of having a bound with stitching book. You can put multiples of these little what are called folios together. I'm gonna show you an example. So you can see there are multiples of these folios together in this chapter of this book. And you can see the stitching, how they're laid in together. Now someone made this book for me, but it's a really good example of how you can make your stitches closer together and have that binding be on something solid. If I were to pull this piece of leather away, you could see the stitch lines. Where the thread comes in and out, and same thing. Let me find a good open one here, and you could see how the stitches go in and out here. It's just a little bit different of a variation on the same principle, but you could put them together to make more, and that way you could have a thicker sketchbook if you wanted it that way. So if you had this one and this one together, you could literally bind the holes to each other, and you would have a solid piece of book binding. So you would have a lot bigger sketchbook. But for this, right now, we're gonna go ahead and put the cover on it. So we decided that we were gonna come out to the edge and we're gonna leave the stitching part exposed a little bit. It's not gonna hurt it any. And if anything, it just gives it a little bit more stability and you're not gonna impede or put glue on the way that the stitching runs together, okay? So let's use that double stick tape, which I put somewhere. It's hiding. You know what, we'll use the glue instead. We'll do it live, here we go. So we'll just put some glue here on this book cover. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, it's just paper to paper. White glue would be just fine for this. We're using E6000. Let's put that on something before it drips because tabletops, we're preserving them. Okay, so we're gonna pull this out all the way to the edge and just press. You wanna put this underneath something kind of heavy when you put the cover on. That way there's no bubbling and it doesn't try to pull away or it doesn't shift and then you end up with something dry that is now sad. But you know what, maybe you like it sad. That's okay too if you want. So we'll just do this. A little bit of a zigzag there and bring it out to the edge. And then you press. Now normally you give this a chance to dry before we did anything else. Oop, there's the cap. Always put your cap back on your glue, guys. It's very important. Otherwise you will have sad glue. Now we can do the fun part of using the sketchbook, and you have something nice and hard to write on if you want. So that's got a nice thing. But the best part about having a cover on it is now you can decorate it. Whether you want to paint it or glue on it, it's anything up to you. But I think today we're gonna do some really fun decorations with some leather. And we love our leather here, so it's a very fun ordeal. Okay, so let's think about how we wanna do this. So these have snaps on them. So we could make, let's see. Actually, how big around is this? Okay, so it's not big enough to go all the way around, that's okay. Let's think.
But you could use the others, you could do, so you had it where it could come open and closed. Mm-hmm. We could do it like this, mm-hmm. and then put and cut off a piece here and glue it.
True, that's great.
And so
that would be great. Let's
do it.
Yep, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea, Lori. So let's do this side. I like the pink one.
I love that as the middle piece. That would be so cute.
Yes, I think that's going to be great. So we're going to glue this guy right to it. I lost the glue. Wow.
So if this is opening, should we make the snap on this side?
Yes, probably the snap should be on this side.
Yeah.
So really we probably ought to take this side. Let me think. Let's think about that for 2 seconds. So it needs to be this way. Yeah?
Or no.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep, and then this way.
Yeah.
This way. Okay, good. All right. Awesome. I love it. How many people does it take to get this together? We'll figure it out. It'll be fine. So let's see how far around this needs to go on the other side.
Or you could use the pink one as the main.
Yeah, I think we want to use the pink one as the main. So we're using this side.
Okay.
Yeah. See, art is fun. It's all about trial and error. So we're gonna want it to do that in the long run.
Yes. Cute.
Yes. So we'll trim these. I want it to lay flat, more like that. What do we think?
Cute.
Think that's good? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make a mark. And we'll trim. These scissors should work for this leather. Yes, it does. Okay. So just to make it look a little bit polished, we'll trim these little corners back. So it looks a little bit finished. So that'll be nice. So let's pull this away. And we're just gonna glue onto the leather itself. This is nice and porous, so this E6000 will stick really, really well. Leather and E6000 are friends. And we're just gonna eyeball the width between the two. Doesn't need to be too perfect. And we're gonna press and hold. And again, putting this underneath something that's heavy to make sure that these stay really well would be a great idea. And so if you flip this over. So let's just bring it back to the edge. I like that look, so we'll just do this and we'll just make a mark. The only time we're cutting corners is acceptable. All right, and then let's make sure that's nice and flat. Yeah, okay. So
Now that we probably need to put glue all the way on it.
yeah,
don't
that
we?
one's gonna need to be all the way behind it so that it has something to pull against. That way you're not gonna rip it off one day when you're very excitedly trying to art right away. So we'll just make a line back here. And I don't wanna put lots of pressure down on that. So that way when you flip it over, you can pop the top off.
And we probably need to, do we need to glue that?
No, because
No,
you're gonna want
that's
it.
right.
You're gonna want it to open
But
this.
we might glue further here, yeah.
Just a little bit, because you don't want it to.
Yeah. Yep.
So a little bit more in this one, yep. And see, there's a lot to be said about when you make things that are custom for yourself. They can be perfectly trial and error. They don't have to be right the first time. You can go back and adjust it, take it off, try it again, until you like it, and then you keep it that way. And then you know what? Maybe you're just like, you know what? I'm tired of that. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try something else this time. So, but now what's nice is that we have a reversed version that we could do on another thing if we wanted to.
that.
So that's always really nice.
You know, this would be cute. Just adding this to, and fabric this.
Oh yes.
Or decoupage this.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. You can, it's endless.
It really is, and being able to paint a surface like this, having leather on either side, you could put photographs here. You could decoupage family photos. You could make a photo album out of something like this and put photos inside it and decoupage family trips on the outside. You could do all kinds of things. You could even have, if you were gonna send this to somebody, you could put photos of you and that person together and send it as a memento through the mail to them. If they hadn't gotten to see something, or maybe you're missing a trip that y'all usually take together this time of year. Whatever you do, it would be a great way to show off not only your personality, but have something that's useful and recycled too.
You know, another thing, what a cute idea. You know someone's going on a trip.
Yes.
Make one blank and maybe put on there my trip to whatever
Exactly.
in the year and send it to them, and they could, you know, journal their trip.
Yep, they absolutely could, and it would be
love
nothing.
it.
It would be no harm at all to use something that's recycled, something that they can keep forever, and then it's also something that, that they can add to themselves,
Right.
and it becomes a little bit of collaboration with someone else, and I think that's great. So anyway, guys, this is how this one's turned out. If you want more information about bookbinding, there's lots of info out there online. Please look it up. It's great. It's a lot of fun, and we hope that you enjoyed this, because we certainly enjoyed doing it together, and we'll see you soon. Okay, so we're back. We just did this, and we just had a thought while we were sitting here that might be fun as well, that if you like a little bit more of an industrial feeling with your stuff, or you just like texture, because I'm a big texture girl, you can hold on to what you've got, but this cardboard comes off. Like, there's corrugated underneath here. And if you peel it back, you can literally run your fingers through here and pop those ridges through. In fact, if you use the end of a pen, it would probably be even better. But check that out. So look at the texture that you've got in this now, which I really enjoy.
That's cool.
And then you could paint over this with you could use anything. Actually, I think I'm going to use this because it's a little bit sharper. And the cardboard has a little bit of a texture to it, like a fiber. It's very fibrous, so you're gonna have to kind of press to get it all the way through there. But look at that.
Oh, how cool does that look?
Yep.
And depending, you can even pull off more layers.
Yep.
Should we try this side too?
Yeah, let's do
I'm like
this
wanting to
side.
get my hands in
Yeah,
here.
do it. Let's do it together. We can do it together, and that's one of the best parts of this. Let's actually score the top of this a little bit so we can have an edge. Let's peel this back. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have picky fingers.
Yeah, there you go.
Sometimes I have little picky fingers, and getting things peeled away is really satisfying for me.
Ooh, yeah, you could stop there even.
Yep.
and you could write something along here.
You sure could. And so now you've got these little peekaboo spots of holes in it, but you've not destroyed any of the integrity of what's going on. I really like this. I think this is really neat.
That is so cool.
And I mean, gosh, the sky is the limit. Even if you have, I don't know what you do, but nervous fingers sometimes, with like I do, being able to peel the top off of something is actually really fun. It's like picking bubble wrap. It's like popping the little bubbles in bubble wrap. Actually, you could do a book covered in bubble wrap if you wanted, if you just really needed that fix. So, okay, so we just kind of wanted to add a little bit to this as we thought about it. And look at that, we could even get in there and do that. You could do it to the back side too, so you could get it to be matching, or you don't have to. But we thought that would be fun as a little addendum, because this is just a fun, like, evolving process as we get to do these each time. So thank you so much, guys, again, and we hope you have a great day.